Hello, and welcome to this special place to be with God. This is a place where we gather. Where you are is a place where your family gathers to listen to God, to talk to God, to tell the stories of God. It's a place where we try to talk a little more softly because someone might be talking to God and we don't want to disturb them. And it's a place where we don't have to hurry because we have all the time we need. So we start off every day with a greeting, and so I will say, peace be with you. And then your response, and also with you. So today is the 22nd Sunday after Pentecost. And on our calendar, you can see that the arrow has moved one more green Sunday. So we're counting from the red Sunday at the bottom, which is Pentecost. It's been quite a while. And we have 3 more Sundays until the first purple Sunday. So that's definitely something to be looking forward to. If you have a candle at home that your parents can help you light, I invite you to do that while I light the Christ candle here in this room. We light our Christ candle when we gather in this room or in the sanctuary at St. Andrew or where you are to remind us that Christ is always with us when we gather together and when we gather to hear the stories of God. So there are lots of ways to get ready to hear God's stories and to be with God. So I invite you to get your bodies settled and comfortable and relaxed so that you can hear God's story. Take a deep breath, whatever works for you to get ready. And then we'll sing Be Still and Know. So hopefully you know this song now and you've taught it to your family so everyone can join in as we sing. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. So when we sing that song, we know that it's time to hear one of God's stories. So I'm going to read our story out of the Bible first. And today's story is from the book of Exodus, which is the second book in the Bible if you are wanting to follow along. And it's in chapter 40 of Exodus. And it's verses 1 through 9. The Lord spoke to Moses. On the first day of the first month, you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put in it the ark of the covenant, and you shall screen the ark with the curtain. You shall bring in the table and arrange its setting, and you shall bring in the lampstand and set up its lamps. You shall put the golden altar for incense before the ark of the covenant, and set up the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle. You shall set the altar of burnt offering before the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and place the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. You shall set up the court all around, and hang up the screen for the gate of the court. Then you shall take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it, and consecrate it and all its furniture, so that it shall become holy. So there's a lot in those verses, and so we're going to learn a little bit more about that with our desert box. The desert is a strange and a wild place. At nighttime, it's very cold. But in the daytime, it's burning hot. There is almost no water there. And the desert is always changing. The wind comes and it blows and it shapes and it molds the sand. So the desert is never the same. God had led the people of God through the waters to freedom, and God had given them the 10 Commandments, or the 10 best ways to live. Now the people of God were on their way through the desert to the promised land, the land that God had promised to give them. The people loved the 10 best ways to live very much, and they wanted to carry them with them wherever they went on their journey. But they needed a way to carry them, and they needed a way to come close to something so precious. So God told Moses to build a special box called an ark. And this box was covered in gold. It had 2 golden angels on the top. It had 2 poles, one on each side, so that they could carry it. And they put the 10 best ways to live in the ark. But you can't just come close to something so special as the ark and the 10 best ways to live without a way to get ready. So the people built an altar for incense. And the incense smelled sweet, and there was smoke. So the sweet smelling incense and the smoke could help them get ready. But that still wasn't enough. So they built a table called a table of shewbread. And on every Sabbath day, they put 12 loaves of bread on the table. And then they made a lampstand or a golden candlestick with 7 lights on it called a menorah. So now the priest could go between the table of shewbread and the menorah, through the sweet-smelling incense and the smoke, to be close to God. But that still wasn't enough. So God told them to make a tent called a tabernacle. And to make the tent, they put up walls on 4 sides. And I'm going to leave the 4th side off so you can still see. So there was a screen on the front that the people had to walk through. And then there was another wall with a veil. So they made an inside room and an outside room. And the inside room was called the Holy of Holies. And that's where they kept the ark. So the priest could go through the screen between the table of shewbread and the menorah, through the sweet-smelling smoke, and into the Holy of Holies, to be close to the ark and close to God. But that still wasn't enough. So they made an altar for burnt offerings, and they put that outside the tent. And this is where the people of God brought gifts of their best animals to give to God. And then they put a huge bowl and they filled it with water. And this was where the priests could wash their hands and their feet as they got ready to go into the tabernacle to pray and to lead the worship of God. They also covered the tent or the tabernacle with beautiful cloths. So first they added a cloth that was purple and red with angels on it. Then another, then another. And finally, on the outside, they put one that was rough and woolly. So when people walked by in the desert, they would just pass on by and not even notice that. This still wasn't enough. So they couldn't just leave the tent just sitting out there in the desert. So they put a fence made of linen around the tabernacle. Now, they had a special place and a special way to get ready to be close to God. It was a tent for God. So whenever the people had to move again in the desert on their way to the promised land, they could take down the fence and they could take down the special coverings. And they could take down the walls of the tabernacle. And they could take down all the special things that filled the tabernacle. And the Ark of the Covenant with the 10 best ways to live would lead the way. I wonder what part of this whole story you like best. Now, if you want to, you can pause this video story and you can talk about these questions with whoever you're watching with. I wonder which part of this story you think is the most important. I wonder how it feels to come close to something so precious as the ark. I wonder if you have ever been close to something that precious. I wonder how the incense and the smoke and the table of shewbread and the menorah and everything in the tabernacle helps the people get ready to be close to God. I wonder how you get ready to be close to God. And I wonder how it feels to be close to God. There's lots of things to think and wonder about. Now I'm going to change the light, so you can change your light with me if you want to. And we do that because it reminds us that the light of Christ that was in one place at one time is now in many places at all times, wherever we go. Amen.